And I guess you have to be careful what you say. He still is the special investigator, the special prosecutor.
I
kind of holds, yours and others' future. Go ahead.
I long ago stopped being careful, and I don't worry about the Jack Smiths of this world. I have a chapter in my book called Stand Up to Bullies. So here's what I say to Jack Smith. After the Supreme Court threw out your case, which should have been a disgrace, and you should have gone and found another profession because you don't belong in this one. This one will be your legacy, violating the right of free speech of an American citizen. Never mind whether he was president or not. It could be anybody. It could be a homeless person. You don't get to violate people's First Amendment rights, Smith, no matter who the hell you are, or no matter how sick you are with Trump derangement syndrome. And this isn't the first time you've acted like an unethical lawyer. It should be the last.
Looks like Rudy Giuliani finally got the chance to take a look at Jack Smith's new indictment in Washington, D.C., where it names Trump's co-conspirators, and co-conspirator number one is, quote, an attorney who is willing to spread knowingly false claims and pursue strategies that the defendant's 2020 re-election campaign attorneys would not. Who could that possibly be? Now, as for the Newsmax clip up top, a few points. Rudy says, I don't worry about the Jack Smiths of the world. Jack Smith is an impartial prosecutor. When Rudy Giuliani says he doesn't worry about the Jack Smiths of the world, in effect, he is saying he doesn't worry about the law or the people who uphold it. And to that, I'd say, yeah, we know. That's very clear. That's probably why you were just listed in the biggest indictment in the history of this country. So while we appreciate Rudy's candor on the topic of his disdain for the law, I don't think that it's exactly breaking news. He then goes on to claim that Smith's legacy will be violating the right of free speech of an American citizen. And this is important because this is the line that Republicans are clearly running with, that the whole indictment here is about prosecuting Trump for saying that the election was stolen. To that, all you have to do is look at page 2 of the indictment. Quote, the defendant had a right, like every American, to speak publicly about the election and even to claim falsely that there had been outcome determinative fraud during the election and that he had won. He was also entitled to formally challenge the results of the election through lawful and appropriate means, such as by seeking recounts or audits of the popular vote in states or filing lawsuits challenging ballots and procedures. Indeed, in many cases, the defendant did pursue these methods of contesting the election results. His efforts to change the outcome of any state through recounts, audits, or legal challenges were uniformly unsuccessful. In other words, Jack Smith preemptively denies this very argument to Republicans because he knew that they would try and make exactly the claim that they're making now. But he makes it perfectly clear on page 2 of a 45-page indictment that Trump had every right to talk about the election and even lie about the election. This indictment is not about his lies. This indictment is about Donald Trump conspiring to defraud the United States, to deprive Americans of their right to a voice in our elections, to prevent the Congress from certifying a valid election. That's what he's being prosecuted for. In fact, this isn't even the first time that Rudy has made this claim. Here he is reading his official statement, which also hinges on this lie.
This indictment eviscerates the First Amendment and criminalizes the ruling regime's number one political opponent for daring to ask questions about the 2020 election results. This indictment underscores the tragic reality of our two-tiered justice system, one for the regime in power and the other for anyone who dares to oppose the ruling regime. The news today is particularly egregious in light of the growing evidence proving that Joe Biden and his family made millions of dollars in bribes from America's most intransigent adversaries.
Again, nowhere in this indictment is Trump being charged for his words or his lies. His crimes are listed in plain English. So when Rudy Giuliani claims that Jack Smith is depriving Trump of his right to free speech, just know that A, he is lying to his supporters because he has nothing but contempt for the very people who trust him, and B, that he knows he's lying to his supporters because Rudy Giuliani was a U.S. attorney. If I can read an indictment, then I can assure you that a lifelong prosecutor can read an indictment, meaning that he's making the conscious decision to deceive the very people he's speaking to. So if you're wondering how someone like Rudy could have ended up in this indictment, the same moral bankruptcy that he's displaying here probably played a big role in that. You gotta love too that Rudy figures out a way to throw the whole Biden family corruption Fox News catnip in there for effect. These people are so desperate for whataboutism that even though they've been leveling these accusations against Biden for months and months and have yet to actually prove a single thing, still they'll insist in every available opportunity with absolute certainty that Joe Biden is engaged in some massive pay-for-play scheme. And by the way, just as a quick aside, just this past week, Republicans finally had the opportunity to hold a hearing with their star witness who would finally prove the Biden family's corruption. Here's how that turned out.
He did describe that there were approximately 20 occasions over the course of their nearly decade-long business relationship where, when one of them called the other, that Hunter Biden would ask his father to say hello to whomever he was at dinner. He said there were some times when it was friends and sometimes when it was potential business partners or business partners. But the witness was unequivocal and stated very clearly that they never discussed any business on that phone conversations. There were niceties, and there was a hello, and we talked about the weather or whatever it was, but it was never any business.
And if you really want to get an idea of how it went for Republicans, just listen to Republican Andy Biggs.
Can you talk about the bribe at all? The $5 million bribe?
He didn't know anything about it.
He didn't know anything about that?
No, when he became 23, he didn't know anything about that.
So when Giuliani throws in this little jab against Joe Biden, know that it is based on nothing but desperate wish casting by Republicans to make Biden look as corrupt as Trump, when these two people are not in the same solar system as far as adherence to the rule of law goes. But Republicans know that if everyone seems corrupt, then Trump won't look as guilty by comparison. Once again, it is nothing but lies in service of helping Donald Trump. Rinse and repeat. Finally, Giuliani even goes so far as to accuse Jack Smith of being an unethical lawyer. Again, Jack Smith's reputation is that of winning cases against war criminals, mobsters, and crooked cops. The fact that Rudy thinks that Smith is the unethical one, while he's sitting there acting like a doormat for Donald Trump amid his efforts to steal an American election, goes to show just how deluded Rudy Giuliani has become, and the extent to which these people rely on projection. A good rule of thumb is that when the Rudy Giulianis of the world accuse someone else of being unethical or corrupt or crooked, chances are that that person is squeaky clean. So look, it should surprise no one that Rudy Giuliani is flailing here, that he's misrepresenting the truth about this case. If he had the facts on his side, he wouldn't need to lie. But then, that's been the thing all along. If Donald Trump had won the election, he wouldn't have needed to try and appoint fake electors. He wouldn't have needed to pressure secretaries of state to concoct imaginary votes. He wouldn't have needed to summon state legislators to the White House. He wouldn't have needed to pressure the vice president into unilaterally declaring him the winner of an election that he lost. But because it was clear that Trump had not won this case, he and his allies opted instead to break the law. That's what this case is about. Donald Trump had every right in the world to lie, but none to conspire to defraud the American people of their voice in a democratic election. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.